Hey everyone, my name is Karan. I'm a senior product manager at Harmony Venture Labs that's based here in Birmingham, Alabama. And today I want to talk to you about the phrase, your next employee won't be human. As people in, in building, we're in Sloss Tech, we're at the dev track, we're all builders here. We're all in some way promising our next product that our customers are going to buy are not going to be human. But we need to figure out what does that design experience look like? And I want to share from some of my experiences how we can actually achieve good design in the age of agentic AI. So a bit of context, Harmony Venture Labs is a venture studio. Imagine a venture capital fund meets an idea incubator. We basically find interesting problems in interesting industries, and then our whole job is to fund mini teams to build software solutions for those problems and go out there and grow them into startups. I fortunately have been given the privilege to run our real estate startup called ListedKit that goes out there and tries to help real estate agents with the different documentation problems they have to deal with when they're running their real estate transactions. Before we jump into the meat of design, I just want to take a moment to appreciate where we are in the age of AI. Everybody has the most powerful models at their fingertips. Big companies have so much funding that the possibilities are limitless of what they could do. Imagine, right? You're a billion-dollar, trillion-dollar company. You have all this funding, all of these resources. You could design the next solution that makes the world a better place. And there are companies out there putting in billions of dollars to make these amazing solutions for us to use. And they all look the same. I myself sometimes forget what these tools do, but they all four serve four different purposes. The new meta, one would say, is just sticking a chatbot on top of your product and hoping people ask the AI to figure out what to do. But if anybody here uses Claude Code, Cowork, it gets a little confusing at times when you're working on multiple projects to figure out where are we going? What are we doing? And that's the power of design. The tool on the top left is a product analytics tool. You could go into your application, connect key events to a database, and then view beautiful dashboards that show you what your users are doing. They took away my dashboard and gave me a chatbot. Okay, I'm very upset about that one. The one on the top right is a front-end design tool. It's for UI designers to build beautiful pages and beautiful screens and prototypes. Bottom left, we have Claude, an agentic assistant that can do anything in the world if you ask it to. And then we have Telerik, a coding assistant that helps you push production-ready code. All four very different use cases. Why do they all look the same? I think AI being commoditized is that hype is now gone. Everybody has the best models because everybody can pay Anthropic, Gemini, and OpenAI for their models and put them into their tools. It reminds me of when having a website was the big thing. Just having a website did not actually ever result in being successful. A beautiful experience that delivered value was always the differentiator between websites. It reminds me of in The Office, if any of you have seen it. Dunder Mifflin was getting destroyed by Staples because on Staples' website, you could actually order paper products instead of having to talk to a salesman. And Jim jokingly remarks, oh, we also have a website, even though it just says under construction coming soon. I don't see the difference. So I bring up the question, are you going to have your users figure out what they can do in your application or just show it to them? Currently, in a lot of the tools I showed you, the work that's being done is invisible. It's being hidden under the chat surface where the human and the AI are chatting with each other, right? You feel productive because it can write your emails. It can, create calendar events. It can generate beautiful websites. But then when you have a long-term project going on, you don't actually have a lot of visibility into the work that's being done, the work that's being queued up. It's all just a list of chats. So how can we actually bridge the gap between the agent that's now super powerful and can serve you in so many ways, you, the user, and the work that's actually being done? I want to show you what I have learned through ListedKit a real estate AI agent that we have built in-house in Birmingham and shipped out to the United States for real estate agents to use. This tool is being used across all 50 states right now, and Ava, our little house AI, has actually helped close $1 billion in real estate volume. So we're out there, we're being used by users. We don't have all the answers, but if this can help anyone with the same thinking that I have, my job here is done. So before we jump into the design principles that Listikit followed, I just want to break down what Listikit does in specifics so we have some context before we jump into the design piece of all of this. So in real estate, when you're buying and selling a home, you have a contract. That contract determines some key deadlines that need to be met, either by collecting documents, signing them, or sending money from the buying side to the selling side to ensure the home gets closed on time. That's all reflected in a single real estate contract. That's the source of truth. And that contract, even though it's extremely complicated, has a clean timeline you can build that needs to be followed. So the way Listikit works is you give us your 40, 50, 100-page contract. Ava, our AI, will read it, do all the complex math for you, and build a simple timeline you need to follow, along with a list of tasks that need to be done, all with Listikit. Now imagine you do that for one deal, but you do that for 5 as a real estate agent, or if you're doing 100 deals as a real estate team. Now you have 100 timelines, you have hundreds of tasks. You have to coordinate so many parties to move together at the same velocity to get that timeline achieved. But if anybody here has worked with anybody else, you know people don't like to do things on time. That job created what we know as the transaction coordinator, a single person who goes and emails people, reminds them, collects documents, just literally herds all the 5 parties in the transaction to close. And we wanted to build an AI assistant for that role to help you remind, collect docs, make sure they're good to go. So pretty complex workflow, but when you simplify it like this, it actually helps you with the design process, right? We decided we're not going to reinvent the wheel. We're going to go out there and see how are TCs managing their transactions right now? How are real estate agents managing their transactions right now? They're using tools like Asana, Trello, Monday, Excel sheets, simple checklists to stay on track, where half of their job is actually going out and doing the emailing and the documents, but another half of their job is then keeping their Excel sheet up to date because there's so much work to be done. So we took the project management piece out of a tool like Asana, where when you put your contract into Listikit, we build you a simple checklist with due dates that then becomes the foundation and the source of truth for all the work that you need to do. Just from this UI, I know the inspection and the earnest money have been complete, and we're waiting on the appraisal for July 2nd. This is a great foundation and a great story to have. Anytime I sign into Listikit, I know this is where we're going. Then what we did is we took our agent, which is a chat, and we didn't let just the user talk to the chat, but let the agent actually work with the UI too. Imagine if your project management software, it probably can now if Claude is connected to it, but a year ago when we built this, it was pretty crazy to imagine if I tell my Asana or my Monday that I finished this task, mark it as complete and make another one, it just wouldn't do it. Even when Asana released an AI, it couldn't do it for a really long time. So this kind of dynamic where you can tell the agent to do things for you, the agent can tell you to do things, and then you and the agent can both manipulate a UI that acts as the source of truth is really important when you're building specific tools for specific cases. Claude gets away with not having that because they're a general purpose tool. You go in there, you figure it out, and you make your system. But in industries like real estate, it's pretty fixed what needs to be done. Let's guide our users on where they need to go and how they need to handle it. So this is a real screenshot of our UI, and I'll be the first to admit there's a lot going on here. But this kind of design that we have is an accumulation of a lot of insights we got from our users and the fact that the job is really complicated. In the center there, you chat with Ava, our AI, to get her to do things for you. As you can see, one of them was add the timeline to my calendar, write an email for me, so on and so forth. She can do a lot of things. On the right-hand side is your traditional transaction, right? You can see all your key deadlines. You have a list of tasks that need to be done. You have all the transaction details we pulled out, and even compliance for documents. So you can store your docs in ListiKit, you can update your tasks, you can actually manage your transaction directly from here. When I asked Ava to add the timeline to my calendar, she actually then went onto the right-hand side and lit up these icons in green for me to visually know that these items are on my calendar and I don't need to worry about it anymore. This serves as a good dynamic between fixed structure and the flexibility of an AI, so we can move through our deadlines effectively. This is the question I think if anybody here is building a tool that you anticipate people using, you need to ask yourself. Please don't have them guess and figure it out. We have seen a lot of our own users in the beginning kind of get lost in ListiKit because they didn't know what to ask Ava to figure out what she does. So we show it to them, we teach them through doing. The second piece of this is more on the background, but there's a lot of this that touches the front end that your users would engage with, and that's the harness. The harness simply guides the AI in incremental steps to repeatedly do the same thing over and over again so that you're not seeing your models hallucinate or make mistakes. If you tell an AI to build my blog post, make no mistakes, it's going to spiral, it's going to do, it may even get there, but if you ask it a second time, it's going to do a completely different job. But if we can break that down into ideate blog ideas, make a campaign, pick an idea, do some drafting, you break it down into the incremental steps, the room for error gets really reduced. And what's cool is when we put a harness around our tool, we then let our user actually tweak the harness to fit their needs. So you can have a harness that makes Ava real estate specific, but then I'm giving my users different pieces to actually curate for it to be Alabama specific, to be Huntsville specific, to be even a specific kind of lead-based paint zone, you know? We do that by giving our users the ability to customize templates so they can go in and upload a list of tasks they do pretty frequently. Now Ava knows, okay, when I open a deal in ListiKit, these are the tasks I typically do. That's a good, reference point for me to help you as an AI. We let our users upload their email templates. So if Ava needs to draft this long drawn email, each email doesn't look different. She's just filling out a template instead of guessing what needs to be in the email. And we even let our users give specific rules because certain brokerages require you to read a contract in a certain way that we could not predict, and AI can predict. Just let the user tell you how they want their AI. Similarly, tools and memory, I'm sure these two are a bit more familiar with y'all. Ava has different tools she can use to perform certain tasks, and memory is preferences we store over time. All of this compounds together into a highly curated AI that's built for you without you having to guess how to get there. We actually let our users decide how they want their harness around Ava. Another cool thing that I think I haven't seen in a lot of apps is we even use AI to help you build your templates that then is the harness for the AI. What I mean is, if you want to build a task template, that's a pretty big endeavor, right? You have to map out all the 30 things you're doing in a transaction, all the emails that need to go out, all the work that needs to be done. Our users typically have them stored somewhere already. You can just paste it in here or upload a screenshot of it, and Ava will look at it and turn it into a ListiKit ready template to then use inside a transaction. So we're trying to cut down setup time and setup cost, but still make our application highly customizable. Those two kind of have had a conflict in the past, but you're seeing how we are using AI to match how they're storing their data with how we need our tool to be the harness for them. Similarly, we have simple plain text rules. You can go in and tell Ava. The number of times I've had my users come to me and say, Karan, I wish I could just tell Ava that for this thing, I want to do this thing. There you go. Just put it in plain text. We've given you some basic buckets of work that she does. The first one is when she drafts emails, how should she behave? When she reads your contracts, how should she behave? They write it in free text. It gets passed in very carefully into our prompts, and Ava then follows their behavior. We also built slash commands, repetitive tasks. This one I'm sure everyone has seen before. It's been really cool to see users build slash commands with our tools because they're very real estate specific. And then what we can do is observe the slash commands that are being created the most across users, and then turn those commands into actual feature flows, which we would have had no idea if we didn't give our users the ability to do this. So let them tell you how they want their AI, and then you build it as you learn. So I'm going to just wrap it up by saying again, the power isn't in having the greatest AI in your tool. It's about building an experience that actually pushes you and your users to be more productive and do what they actually signed up to do. And use the harness. The business depends on the harness. If you can successfully get your AI to do what it claims to do reliably over time, you've built a really good harness and you've built a really good business. Thank you. Does anyone have any questions? Yes.
Sorry. It seems like you all are discovering the harness process and how that can be used to build a business alongside the creation of it.
Mhm.
How did you go about that?
That's a really good question. So traditionally, the tools that were in our space were completely manual before AI, right? In order to use a transaction management tool, you had to come in, spend 3 weeks setting up all these rules and all these templates, and only then it could work. We looked at that entire concept as a bad thing, and so we built a completely AI tool. It will not let you upload a template. It will come up with your tasks for you. It will write your emails for you. And we gave that to users, and we found in their chat messages like, no, please just follow this template. Follow this set of rules. Follow this thing. And we were like, okay, I think the part we misunderstood was you shouldn't have to force your user to set up everything before they jump in and get value, but there's huge value in them telling you what to do. So it was a very incremental process of we started with emails. Our real estate agents, when they send, let's say there's an email explaining how to wire your money, they want that email to look consistent every single time. And so we started there. Here, give Ava your template, and then she'll draft it repeatedly every single time. Then we realized that the task kind of set process, they don't want an AI guessing what your tasks look like. We have a list. And so we, over time, from user feedback, just started building kind of harness pieces until where now we realized, wait, the email templates can talk to the task templates, can talk to this system, can talk to that system. So they all work together to give you what you feel is one cohesive agent now. Yeah.
You got me?
Yes.
Okay. Thanks for the presentation
Yeah.
first. I want to go to the other side. What you just showed us to me, that requires skill and UX,
Oh.
UI, and
Mm-hmm.
design sophistication. You're listening to customers,
Yep.
et cetera, and you're incorporating
Mm-hmm.
feedback. On the other end of the spectrum, we hear a lot about these low code, no code tools. How close are they really to being able to do anything like this? Like, what should our expectation be?
So I think you're talking about maybe this screen and this screen, but the biggest one is this guy, right? This is like the most complex one. I actually designed this in a no-code solution and then handed it to my engineers. And we obviously built it over time, but the general idea, we built in a no-code solution to first see, does this even make sense? Um, so I think the question, there's like two parts of the question. One, will a no-code solution replace the need for the design eye and an engineer to put this together? Probably not, because the design tool doesn't know your customer as well as you. Maybe there's a different AI. But end to end, going from, hey, fix transaction management, make no mistakes, to having this, that loop, at least I don't see right now happening, even if AI is getting more powerful and getting longer. Context management and being strategic about what you do is still the most important skill, no matter how good the technology. The other piece of, can it design high fidelity solutions? Yeah, I mean, this started in the V0 tool, which I mentioned in the beginning. But now what I do is I have Claude Code read our app and our code base and then make mock-ups of what our app looks like. And then I design on top of it, hand it back to the engineers. Pretty clean loop. Last piece is human feedback. Doesn't matter how many prototypes you're putting out unless you're putting it in front of someone. They're validating that this is good, and possibly they're paying you money for it once you've turned it into a product. Yeah. Any other questions? Oh, we'll give the mic.
I've got a question more on the product market fit side. So you
Hmm.
mentioned that some independent agents use it, but you
Yeah.
also mentioned agent teams. Are you
Yes.
guys selling this to independent agent teams? Have you approached some of the larger Keller Williams and groups like that
Yeah.
that sort of have those groups? I was
Yeah.
just curious about
Good question.
where in the market you
Mhm.
guys are positioning this tool.
That's a really good question. Okay, I'm tempted to. I'm fighting the urge to give you the whole history of how we did this, but I'll break it down as quickly as I can. So we started with independent transaction coordinators. People realized that the whole job of just nudging people to do work is super valuable. So they started companies where they were like, you pay me money, I will bother everyone till the deal gets done. And those independent TC firms were the first people we went to because they are their own boss. They're not very regulated. They can kind of do whatever they want. So we went in there. We also found that they have the hardest job because they typically represent agents and brokerages in different states. They're doing 150, 200 deals a month with 3 people, all spreadsheets, just chaos. So we started there to one, learn how to make the best workflow. We actually like spent our time seeing how they do their processes. And we believed, and it's true to this day, if we could solve the problem for them, everybody else is a lot easier. So it kind of became the perfect starting point. They had the most lenient budget, the most open minds to new technology, and the biggest problem. Once Ava was able to keep up with them, in parallel, we started marketing as just a more open-ended real estate assistant, and we saw an influx of agents who did not have a transaction coordinator at any level. And what we realized was in real estate, even if you are a real estate agent in Remax or in LAH Sotheby's or in Keller Williams, there's no guarantee you're going to get that transaction help. A lot of real estate agents out there are not only going and showing you homes and doing the in-person work, but then late at night they come home and they send the emails, they do the document work themselves. So we saw an influx of real estate agents coming in and using Ava as the backbone. Like, Ava, please remind me tomorrow to do this thing. Ava's like, I got you, because they couldn't afford the help. Those agents then opened the door to their bosses who realized, oh my God, I'm just going to give this, I'm going to pay for like a big plan and let all my agents just use this together. And that's how kind of the word spilled over to real estate teams that had transaction help. They were like, oh my God, if my transaction coordinator uses this, she's going to be able to do 10x more. And my admin person is going to be able to like save so much time. And so that's kind of how we grew through the market. Um, as of today, we've partnered with Real Brokerage. They're in the medium to large size. They have about 50,000 agents, and we serve all 50 states. So we've kind of just grown in the last year, yeah. And it's been 1 year since we've grown, so it's a pretty long journey, yeah. Yeah, no problem. Any other
Anybody
questions?
got else? I have kind of a generic question,
An engineering
like a
question?
generic
Oh, generic
question.
question? Yeah, go ahead.
Um, in your role, have you seen that there's a larger segment of people who don't understand what an MVP is and what its value is? And if so, if not, then say, shut up, Michael. But if so, if could you kind of speak to that and tell me what you think about that?
Yeah, I think so. I spent a lot of time around Harmony Venture Labs employees, and they're all too smart for me, and so they know more than me. But when I step outside my office, I do see a convolution of I'm going to use a V0 or like a design tool to build my MVP and make my first dollar. We're skipping a lot of steps there, and I think the big difference is people think MVP is a prototype, but that's not always true. When you have a startup idea or a problem you're trying to solve, what we recommend you do first is you come up with a non-functional prototype that's just screens and designs that you show to people who would be your customer. When you're doing that round of validation, you're not actually trying to make money. You're putting your solution in front of those people and seeing if they even get the joke. Do they understand your design? Do they find your solution valuable? There's a lot of hand holding and you explaining. You're not actually rushing to build a solution. In the age of AI, going from that to a working prototype that you charge for has compressed. But I think the need for that gate of, hey, is this thing that I'm building even making sense to the people I want to sell it to? Should I even spend the time with Claude, even if it's $20, building the database, building the architecture, building the functional prototype, before I've even got a single green light from someone that this even makes sense to them? So I think that's the difference between prototyping and building an MVP that people kind of intertwine. And then you see, oh, I started thinking it's going to be a day. I spent 3 weeks, spent hundreds of Claude Code credits designing this thing, and I even built it, and then now nobody wants to use it. The cost to make that mistake has reduced, but the cost is still there in my opinion. Yeah. Any other questions? Oh, go ahead.
As you've started to work with these agencies that have like a ton of real estate agents, have you started to run into like the multi-tenant problem for your harness where they have a specific set of templates and tasks that they want their agents that work for their specific brokerage that they want to install on everybody's instance of Ava?
Yes. We haven't solved it yet. Yeah, no, we literally are running into that right now where okay. Yes, we've built it. It's not live on it's not shown to our users in the UI because we're still working on it, but we're as you can imagine, our Listicate team is 4 people, me, my 2 engineers there, and 1 marketer. We sit every single day in Morris and we just grind, grind, grind. We kind of forget at times that we are kind of a big company now and we shouldn't just be shipping things out. We ship commands and rules and all these things that are really, really cool if you're a single user. And then our highest paying account comes and says, Karan, I spent 3 hours setting this up. How do I give it to my team? And we're like, yeah, we didn't think about that. So I will say we have implemented some of the pieces of this, like our task templates, our email templates, our compliance templates, to be able to be shared as kind of like the spine of your transaction. So if you join my Listicate account as a team member, you in your templates will see the templates there and then you can use them. But I think there's so much room to evolve where Ava doesn't just become your shared knowledge of transaction information, but she becomes also your shared library of how the company operates. So that's where we're going next. And that's a really good question because we're still, maybe in a year from now when Slops Tech comes around again, I'll have an answer of what we did to solve that. Yeah. Any other questions? Cool. Awesome. Thank you guys so much.